Welcome to the Academic Writing Amplified podcast. On this podcast, we believe that the culture of academia needs to change radically. Women and non-binary people are revolutionizing academia within institutions that were not built for us. If you're ready to reject the culture of overwork, kick guilt and overwhelm to the curb, and amplify your voice to make a real impact on your field without breaking down or burning out, you're in the right place. With our team of experienced writing coaches as co-hosts, we'll share insights and talk to inspiring guests to bring you the practical strategies, systems, and mindset shifts you need to find time to write, publish work you love, and design your career on your terms. And it all starts with writing. Let's go. Hey there, this is Kathy, and for the rest of July, we're going to be re-releasing some of our very favorite podcast episodes about the pre-tenure experience. Before we get into today's episode, I want to let you know that we are enrolling for our Amplify Faculty Writing Accelerator program. This program is open for enrollment until the end of July, and we start in September. It's a 6-month program that runs September through February. This program is designed for early career women and non-binary professors who really want to do academia on their terms. This is for people who want to write more so that they can go up for tenure with confidence, but that don't want to do it by writing on the weekends and having their work overflow into the evenings. We're really trying to coach you into a method for your approach to your career that is sustainable and joyful and doesn't lead to burnout. So if any of that sounds good to you, I encourage you to check out our Amplify program. You can go to kathymazak.com/amplify and register to hear and see our on-demand information session about the program. It's like a program orientation with all the information about program structure, call times, tuition costs, everything you need to know in order to make a decision about whether Amplify might be right for you. If it is, then we encourage you to apply, which you can also do from that information session watch page. So we'll get your application and we will let you know the results within 24 to 48 hours. So we are just so excited to already have invited about 20 members into our Amplify September 2022 cohort. There are spaces left for you. So go to kathymazak.com/amplify. Watch the info session, then apply, and I'll be working with you this fall in the Amplify program. Enjoy this re-release episode. Oh, and one more thing real quick. We are taking a company sabbatical in August. Oh my goodness, what does that mean? That means that our whole company is going to press pause on the everyday work that we do. We're going to have a lovely little company retreat in the beginning of August where we're going to get together in person. And then our programs will keep going as usual in September. That means that our podcast is also taking a hiatus. So we are just so grateful that you are a listener. If you are new to the podcast and you want to make sure to get all the new episodes, please go ahead and subscribe. And I am just so happy and grateful for all of the podcast listeners. And we will see you again in September after we finish up our re-releases in July. Hello, everyone. Get ready for a ranty episode. Today, I'm talking about your pipeline. And I hope that by the end of this episode, you're convinced that it's a pipeline, not a funnel. Stay tuned for more. All right. Now, you all know, if you've been listening to the podcast, that I love to talk in metaphors, right? And when people talk about their publication pipeline, they're using the metaphor of pipeline. So let's really dig into that metaphor and milk it for all that it's worth. So if you have never heard the term publication pipeline, what it usually refers to in academia is kind of all the steps I include from kind of idea all the way through to published work. All of those steps that a project takes along the way are what we call your publication pipeline. And so as an academic, you would have projects at various stages in the pipeline. So you're going to have some projects that you're collecting data on. Other projects, maybe you're analyzing the data. Then you've got some things that you're ready to draft. You've got some things you've submitted and you're waiting to hear from the journal, right? Maybe you've gotten recently a revise and resubmit that needs to get your attention and then go back out. And then you have things that are in publication. So what I described to you are some very generic pipeline stages, right? Data collection, data analysis, drafting of the article, submission, revision, and then publication is the ultimate stage. And again, we're using a metaphor to talk about that, and we call it the publication pipeline because we can envision publications flowing as water might flow through a pipeline. However, what happens to so many academics, and understandably so, is that because of fear, because they have a fear that they won't have enough publications, that they really just need to publish anything, that they're really worried about their number of publications over maybe not the quality, but the quality of the journal or the quality of how the publication supports your academic mission. If you're more worried about numbers than how your publications are crafting your academic identity in the world, then what can happen is that instead of creating a pipeline, you create a funnel. Now, what's the difference? If you imagine an actual pipe, right? Like a pipeline, it is a large tube, right? And water goes in one end and it flows out the other end. So it could have clogs along the way, right? You might have valves that you turn off and turn back on, but the amount of water that goes in one end comes out the other end. Now imagine a funnel. A funnel, I picture it as, right, this kind of inverted triangle. And I picture all the projects and publications as like being stuffed. Think of it like maybe like balls, right? Being stuffed in the top, and only one ball can really come out the bottom at a time. So you have a bunch going in, like a bunch of whatever. I just said balls, but it could be rice. If you imagine that, like I'm just asking you to picture things, right? It could be, imagine pouring rice into the funnel, and you're going to have a bunch of rice at the top of the funnel. And then there's a trickle out. And if you dump a whole bag of rice into a funnel, if you have let's say you have a 5-pound bag of rice and you got a little itty bitty funnel and you dump the whole thing in, right? It doesn't matter how much rice you dump in. You're only going to get this trickle out the bottom. It is limited by the size of the exit. And that's the metaphor I want you to use when you are analyzing or reflecting on today's lesson, is whether you have a publication pipeline or whether you have a funnel. And the thing about a funnel, again, is we are stuffing lots of stuff in the top, but it almost kind of gets caught up on itself on the way down the inverted triangle and drips out the bottom. And so imagine instead that if we're going to use rice, like we're going to go back to the rice as the thing we're putting through the funnel. If you just took like a teaspoon of rice at a time and put it through your little funnel, it would all come right out the bottom, and it wouldn't get stuck and wouldn't get slowed down. It would all come out. That is what we actually want. So if you stuff tons of publications onto your plate, let's say, to use another metaphor, but onto your workscape, if you're stuffing, if you're I'm going to do everything, I'm going to milk every single publication I possibly can. And when people want to collaborate and it's going to lead to a publication, I'm going to say yes, because I'm not thinking so much about how publications reflect my academic brand in the world. Instead, I'm just thinking about numbers. When you do that, you actually create like a clog and you still are just going to have this drip of publications out the bottom. You'd go faster. Your publications would come out faster. You would complete more publications if you actually had a pipeline and not a funnel. So what this means is that you must curate your pipeline. Curating your pipeline means being very selective about what goes in. And it feels like, or we believe, that the more projects we take on, the more projects we'll publish. Okay. And the reason I say projects and not, drafts or something is that all of the writing starts with data analysis, right? An idea, whatever your field is, it starts earlier than writing, than words on a page. So that's why I say writing projects, or research projects. So we think if I want to publish more, what I'm going to do is say yes to more projects, or I'm going to work on more projects. And what I'm telling you is that when you do that, you create the funnel, not the pipeline, and you're actually holding yourself back. It has the opposite effect of what we think because your pipeline is so crowded, it's acting like a funnel, that you can't move things swiftly through it. And that's why in our Amplify program, I talk about a curated pipeline. Now, let's think about the word curation, right? And again, we'll use a metaphor. Consider you are a museum curator and you are curating a collection. You are not putting every single thing, let's say that, I'm just going to say Leonardo da Vinci, but because he was in the news recently. So let's say you have access to all of these Leonardo da Vinci pieces, and you have some of his sketches, and you have a wax figure model that didn't become a giant sculpture, and you have some sculptures somewhere. This is theoretical, right? So let's say you have access to all those things. You are likely, as a museum curator, you're not going to put everything by Leonardo da Vinci into one room and just shove it all in there. Instead, what you're going to do is you're going to select pieces that tell a certain story that you want to tell as the curator, right? So let's say that we want to talk about a specific aspect of Da Vinci's work. So we're going to pick some sketches related to that. We're going to pick a model related to that. We're going to pick one sculpture related to that. And that is going to tell a specific story. So that story, it will more effectively be communicated to the audience if those pieces are curated to really concisely and logically tell the story. And that is what your publications are doing in the world. Your publications are telling the story of who you are. As a researcher, as a scholar, they are creating the foundation on which you will continue to build your career. This doesn't mean that all of your publications always need to be about the same thing, right? No, that's not what it means. But what it does mean is that they need to support your academic mission. And your academic mission will evolve over time, okay? So again, in our Amplify program, when we're talking about early career, what we're trying to do is be selective. We're trying to curate those publications that go out into the world to tell a story to your field and also to your tenure committee about who you are and why you should be tenured. Your publications will serve the tenure or promotion mandate, but they will also tell the story of who you are. So what you don't want is to publish just anything, right? You really want to be selective about what you publish. And now some of you are saying yeah, that's nice. Let me be selective about what I publish. I can't get anything past the reviewers. Well, that happens early career. It really does. And once you start to really master the genre of academic article, you get a lot faster. And what I mean by you get a lot faster is your publications will have to go through fewer revisions. most often. There's always like, maybe you're trying to do something that you haven't done before or make an argument that's really new. And that might take longer through the revision process because the reviewers don't have a sense of, they're still trying to catch on to what you're trying to accomplish, right? But in general, right now you might feel, if you're early in your career and you feel like you just can't get anything past reviewers, that will get better. The better you become as a writer and the more you're able to process, revise, and resubmits and take up feedback and have that feedback affect the way you write your next thing. So if you're thinking right now, you're like, yeah, curate my pipeline. I just need to get something out. Yes, but also always with the vision that you are trying to create a pipeline, not a funnel. So just to go back again, what I'm saying is that most of us, especially in the early career, are worried about number of publications rather than how the publications tell a story about who we are as scholars. And because we're so worried about number, we gunk up our pipeline and turn it into a funnel. And we think, logically so, that if we take on more projects that will have more publications. And what I'm telling you is that that's not true. The opposite is true. If you take on more projects, you will have fewer publications. That doesn't mean you're taking on 0 projects or 1 project only, but rather that you are really managing your pipeline in a way that it's a pipeline, that you have things spread over different stages, that you have like a pulse on that all the time. And that's exactly what we teach you inside of our Amplify program. And I mean, in all of our programs to some extent, but especially in Amplify, because we're really trying to teach you how to create that early career pipeline that is going to launch your career. So I'm here to tell you, it's a pipeline, not a funnel. Stop treating your publication pipeline like it's created from a place of fear. Instead, create your publication pipeline from a place of confidence in the publications that you can create, of the messages that you can influence your field with, and confidence about who you are as a scholar, because you know what your academic mission is, what your academic milestones are, and where you are headed in your career. Now, before I sign off, I want to just remind you one more time that if you are early career, or in the North American system, we might say pre-tenure, we are enrolling right now for our Amplify program. And this is exactly the kind of stuff we talk about. What we're really looking to do in Amplify is set you up for the next 30 years. We're looking to help you create that foundation in your career that is really crafted through a combination of publications, excellent time management that lets you get the publications out, boundaries, self-trust, looking for and also being an amazing mentor. All of these things we teach you about in the Amplify program in order to lay the foundation for you to grow as a scholar across your career. So if you haven't applied to Amplify, please find the link to the application in the show notes. It's a real quick application. And when your application is approved, you'll get an invitation to our Power Pipeline training in early August, coming up real fast here. And at that training, we're going to give you a taste of our program. We're going to teach you things, actually from our program. And we are going to give you all the details about our 6-month Amplify Faculty Writing Accelerator coaching program that begins on September 1st and ends on February 28th. There is special pricing for the program for anyone who has taken our Navigate program, and we only have 36 spots. Of the 36 spots, we've got about half of them filled at the time of this recording. So if you want to grab yours, you definitely want to apply now. And even if you're listening maybe after, later into August, go ahead and apply. We will take applications until we fill the program. And the cutoff date to put your deposit down is August 25th and we're starting the program September 1st. This is the only time we're running Amplify this year. In 2021, 2022, we are running it September through February, and then the next time we will run it is September 2022. So if you are interested, I encourage you to apply today. Thank you so much for spending your valuable time supporting yourself and your writing by listening to this episode. If you like what you heard today, the best way to say thank you is to hop on over to Apple iTunes and write an honest review. The more reviews, the more amazing academic women and non-binary people will find this podcast. So go write one now.